Okay, fourth graders, I'm going to try something new where I'm just going to demonstrate on the big screen so that you can all see from where you're sitting at the carpet. Where I'm at with my project is I just have a little bit more to trace with Sharpie. Most of you are exactly where I'm at, is where you have been tracing your design in pencil and then you are doing Sharpie. Please remember the dot goes in the middle and you rotate it along the way, because it is called a rotational design. So for me, I just have these two little pieces left, so I'm going to outline them. And once you're done with Sharpie, if you need to grab an eraser to erase any big pencil lines, please go ahead. Otherwise, you can get right away started with color. For color, you have two choices. You can either use watercolor paints, big or small, or you can use regular markers. You can actually use both within the same project. And let me show you the difference between the two. So for this one, I was using red marker. And what I want you to do if you choose to do marker is please outline your space first to protect it so that your colors don't blend into the other areas. I'm holding it down, I'm outlining it first. Curvy shapes are a little more challenging. And then I'm striping it along the way. So take your time with the marker. Please don't scribble. Make nice, clean lines. If I'm coloring this shape red, I have to repeat that color on all four of those spaces because we are trying to make this symmetrical even with the color. So even my colors are symmetrical. So if I do red on one shape, I have to finish that shape only with red. And of course I can use other colors along the way. Now that I've shown you marker, I'd like to show you watercolor paint. This is mine that I've actually been doing with marker. This one was marker, this is marker, my teal is marker, but I'm using watercolor paint as my background. And you might want to consider doing that too, because sometimes the background can be overwhelming if there's a lot of space. And using the watercolor paint, it tends to blend a little bit easier and go a little bit smoother. Here's the only bad thing about watercolor paint that you're about to see, is it spreads pretty quickly. So you need to use a very thin brush as you are painting. And I also would suggest that you take a tissue and put it right underneath so it absorbs any extra paint and it doesn't bleed into your other colors. Notice I am just using the tip of my brush and that will help me stay in control. So I am painting my entire background with this like black gray color because that's what I want to do. You can decide what works best for you. Let me show you some examples from other fourth graders before we get started. Now none of these are actually finished. You can see the difference between watercolor paint and marker. Watercolor paint does have more of that painterly quality. There's no right or wrong to either one. Here's another one. This one was done in watercolor paint and marker. And this last one. So what we're going to do from the carpet is I'm going to have distributors. You're going to pass out our artwork. And if I can also have collectors pass out pencils and scissors, and we can get started to continue back on with where we are, which is tracing with pencil and Sharpie and then moving on to color. And that's it.